Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny, and I'm the Director of Content Marketing at Digital Niche Agency. Today, we have the team of Fields Cannary. Team, how are you guys doing today?
Very well. Very good. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And we're going to give it a couple minutes while people are trickling in. And, while we're waiting, team, do you want to just give us a little background of you guys yourselves? And then from there, I'll just lay out the land of what we can expect from the webinar today.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and get started. I'll give you a little background on myself, and then when we're through with that, I'll give a little background on Fields, and we'll take it from there. So my name is Edgar Ramon. Thank you all for joining. We got a big group today, so that's super excited. Looking forward to the question and answer session that we'll get to later. I spent most of my career on Wall Street in the finance world. But I moved over to cannabis in late 2018, started looking at different emerging markets, looked at the Illinois market at that time. But then after meeting my business partner, Corey Roberts, we decided to look at the Michigan market and fell in love with everything that it had to offer. And this is where we decided we were going to build and create and bring Fields to the world. So I'll turn it over to Corey.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Corey Roberts. I'm a third generation traditional market operator. I germinated my first seed in 1992. In 94, I went to work in the floriculture industry. I've been involved with cannabis for as long as I can remember. I've been fortunate enough to receive one of the first pilot project hemp license in the state of Michigan for cultivation as well as processing. I also was fortunate enough to found a hospitality company where we held elevated dining experiences for people to come and attend. It was at one of those events I had the pleasure of meeting Edgar and Joanne, and thankful for that.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joanne Ramon. I'm also Edgar's wife. I'm not going to say what year I started in hospitality because I don't want everybody doing the math. I was surprised that Corey's here. It kind of shocked me. It seems like so long ago, but I was 19 when I started in hospitality, and it's something that I've always had a passion for. I've done every aspect of it. I've been a bartender, I've been a cocktail waitress, I've been a hostess, mostly front of house. I've never been a chef, and I've never worked in the kitchen. So we're really looking forward to, putting these three kind of expertise together to form Cannery.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, so essentially the rundown of today's webinar is Edgar is going to lead a fireside chat with the team here, and then we're gonna have some room at the end for some Q&A. So throughout the fireside chat, if anyone in the audience has a question, leave it in that chat box below. We're gonna make sure we have some time at the end. Edgar, with that being said, I'm just gonna hand the mic back to you and we'll just go ahead and get started.
Yeah, great. So yeah, we're super excited about this because we finally get to do this as a team, and we each bring something valuable to the business. So we get a chance to actually ask each other various questions. We should all probably know those answers to the questions, but they don't know what the questions are going to be, and nor will I. So this should be a fun little session. But let me give you, for those of you that don't know, let me give you a little bit of background on Fields Cannery. I'll start by saying that the word cannery isn't a common word. We came up with this and we actually filed for trademark protection on it because cannery comes from what typically a brewery or a winery or a distillery is. We all know what those are, but we are building similar business model, but doing it for the cannabis consumer. We came up with this business model probably back in around 2020. We did a lot of legwork back then to really kind of figure out how we're going to differentiate ourselves within this very competitive market, growing market. And after a lot of visits to the whiteboard, we finally came up with, hey, why isn't there the equivalent of what a brewery does or what a winery offers or what a distillery offers? And the light just went off, and we were like, there should be, there needs to be. It's what the consumer deserves. It's what the consumer wants, right? So we're probably, I would say, without sounding too arrogant, we might be the most unique cannabis company in existence, or will be, because we currently hold 6 different licenses. Those licenses range from cultivation to processing, retail, our consumption lounge, event license, which allows us to hold events anywhere in the state of Michigan. Our production licenses allow us to sell products anywhere at wholesale within the state of Michigan. And then an unprecedented liquor license as well. We are the first within Michigan to have that. So we're super proud of that, super excited for that. And it certainly is a way, again, to separating ourselves from what many other companies are out there doing today. A little bit more, and then we'll get into the Q&A. We are in Muskegon, Michigan, which is on the west side of Michigan, very close to the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan, in a booming city, a city that has been growing and building out not only their hospitality and tourism sectors, but general residential. There's new construction going on everywhere. We've got multi-use developments. In the past couple of years, we've probably seen something around $1.4 billion from real estate developers committing to the city of Muskegon. And they're very forward thinking when it comes to cannabis and 21 and older products. So we're super excited about being here. We bought the property back in 21. It's a 4-acre property. We'll get into that a little bit more later, which we're currently under construction of. The property came with an 11,000 square foot building that's currently being remodeled into our retail space, our restaurant, our kitchen, our lounge, the outdoor space, a small amphitheater, and then we'll be building production facility right on site. Myself, as I mentioned earlier, I come from the finance world, so I'm going to get some questions around that. Corey, as he mentioned, has got a strong background in cultivation, and Joanne's got a long history in hospitality. So we're going to kick off the question and answer session between ourselves. And we might find some questions that come up based on those answers. And if you guys see or want to know something more, just chime in on the chat and let us know. We might get to your question before the end of the session. So with that said, Corey, I'm going to start with you. We hear a lot of different words in cannabis, a lot of different ways of describing not only the plant, but the business. One of the more common words that we hear is craft grow, craft cannabis, quality cannabis, right? Things of that nature. In your eyes, tell me, what does craft cannabis mean to you? And more importantly, why is it important to the consumer?
Thank you, Edgar. Craft cannabis to me represents quality, unique strains, and a more personalized experience to the consumer. Really, it's about the passion and the artistry that goes into the genetics, the cultivation, the processing, and the post-processing that makes a superior product. For myself, as a connoisseur of cannabis, I found that being able to have access to unique genetics in a continually evolving palette of flavors increases my enjoyment of partaking in cannabis.
Great, excellent. That's interesting. I mean, from a business perspective, can anybody say that they're craft cannabis? I guess they can, right? But what do you think it means from a production point of view? Do you think that it should be sacred to say that I'm a craft grower because I do X?
I don't want to put stipulations on anybody and how they market their products and their business. Again, for myself, it really boils down to having unique genetics and methodologies that differentiate the final product from the others. There's a lot of mass-produced flower out there that the methodologies that go into manufacturing it are pretty much the same. You end up with a pretty generic product.
Hey, folks, we have a dog. So now I got another follow-up question then. When you talk about the products themselves, what products then what do you anticipate products or what will we be producing, and what type of SKUs do you see us carrying at Fields?
Well, we'll definitely be producing our own exclusive craft flower and high terpene extracts from that flower. beyond our exclusive offerings, we will also be producing craft flower for wholesale to other markets, as well as aligning ourselves with other craft producers so we can bring in a diverse offering to our patrons. I think it's important to align yourself with others who have the same mindset as you in the cannabis industry, so that you're not bogged down with something that's generic. You're continually evolving and looking to improve upon your existing portfolio.
And do you think there's a need for, there's a lot of products out there right now, so do you think there's a need for new products in the future? And if so, do you see what those might be?
Absolutely. Beyond the traditional products that are already on the marketplace, one of the things that we are excited to be able to do with having a complete vertical operation is the quality control from the seed to the finished product. So we're looking to set ourselves apart with our business model as a whole. And one of the offerings that we will have that I haven't seen others offering is infused condiments, infused barbecue sauces and such. We'll also be able to offer single serve doses, which really aligns well with our consumption lounge. Very excited about the opportunities there to delve into that a little bit further.
Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah. And right, we've got a strategic partnership out there with Mammoth Labs, almost a decade-long operator in this cannabis space. Can you tell us a little bit about their offering, their products?
Yeah, absolutely. Mammoth specializes in high terpene extracts. Some of the markets, their operations are a little bit different, but in Washington, they're completely vertically integrated. They control their supply chain. They specialize, again, high terpene extracts, fresh frozen rosin, live resins, even to infuse pre-rolls, flower only, of course. So again, we're very excited to have Mammoth as a strategic partner with their skill set. We believe it's a great benefit to the overall operations of Fields.
Yeah, and they're certainly excited about the Michigan market, which currently is the second largest market next to California in terms of total sales. Congratulations, Michigan. They hit 3 billion last year, which is astounding compared to some of the other large markets out there. So great. Thanks for that. I think we'll have some other questions around cultivation and producing, and I know how it leads into also the single serving doses of what we're planning to do with our hospitality component. So, Joanne, I'm going to ask you, why hospitality and cannabis? What was the attraction to combine those two very unique models or business industries together and bring this to the market?
Yeah, well, I think when we first started in 2018, you had brought it up, and I knew that with my background, I was excited about making it, feel really as hospitality as in a restaurant. I don't like the idea of doing cannabis strictly hospitality necessarily, although I want everybody that would use cannabis on our premises to feel comfortable. So I'm looking at it more of, hospitality in general. I want every guest to feel like they're welcome. I want, every single part of our business to be, available to everybody, whether you do consume or you don't consume, which is why it's really important that we kind of differentiate the rooms for that reason. There was rules behind it as well, but definitely there won't be any smoking in the restaurant, but there is smoking right next door in the room that's very comfortable, just as comfortable as our restaurant, if not more. I kind of like the design of our lounge a little better, and we'll get to that. But, I think that people were already using it, right, at concerts and things like that, and they were hiding it. It's going by the garbage can or going in their car. Let's get it out of the alleyways. Let's get it out of the, car in the, back of the restaurant, and just, why not make it comfortable? They're doing it anyways. We're seeing it more and more. I think that specifically in Michigan, there's some really great consumption events going on. It's a great model. People are excited about it. People are attending these events, and why not be part of that and do it in a way that it's there all the time.
So in essence, what we're really doing here is normalizing cannabis use.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we all feel, right? We all want to make it so that it's not, again, not in the alleyways and in the people socialize when they smoke cannabis. For a while, it was something that you thought, you sat alone at your house and you watched movies and, ate popcorn, but it's not the truth. People consume cannabis in all different ways and they socialize. They go out and consume it. They go to parties and consume it. They dance still. They do things. They go to concerts. It's already happening. It was kind of a no-brainer. When you brought it up, initially, the reason that it was new to us, obviously, it wasn't legal in Illinois. So when it did become legal, it was sort of like finally people that were consuming were coming out of the woodwork and admitting that they consumed. So when we'd have these parties of 6 people, 8 people, 12 people, maybe 4 of them would be like, well, I haven't consumed cannabis in, 20 years, but I'm kind of excited. The beginning of the party, everybody would be sort of like, asking a lot of questions, weren't sure if they were going to feel anything. By the end of the party, everybody was laughing, talking, telling stories. I could feel it in the evening kind of change. And that's when I was like, we are onto something. I think that, we need hospitality with cannabis. It's a social plan.
Do you see a change at all in terms of the direction of where alcohol consumption is at and potentially going, and where
Yeah.
cannabis use is at and going, for whether it be our generation or a younger generation? And maybe even what about touching on celebrations, right? Where we
Right.
see cannabis themed celebrations.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. We've talked a lot about having, should we have alcohol? Shouldn't we have alcohol? Even at our past events. I think there's always going to be people that want to have a glass of wine or a beer with their meal. And when you're serving dinners and things, there's going to be that. I think what I was talking about is what we noticed was that 25 to 30-year-old, 35-year-old, the younger kind of generation that's consuming is not drinking alcohol like they used to. So it does, that's why there's a need for hospitality. There's like I said, there's a large portion of people that aren't consuming alcohol and are strictly consuming cannabis, and they deserve a comfortable space to do that. And I think that especially that younger generation, like I said, now that being said, when we got our liquor license and when we decided to get their liquor license, my shoulders kind of I was so tense that it wouldn't happen. And the reason that I was so tense it wouldn't happen is because there's always going to be, especially when you're talking about events, there's going to be so-and-so's uncle who would like to have Jack Daniels and doesn't consume cannabis. So they're not going to have maybe a large event at a place where they could not get both. So as much as, it's controversial sometimes to say that alcohol and cannabis, they're both over 21 products. We have to trust that people are using them safely, but we did want the option in case there's people that don't do one or the other. There's people that don't do either. Everybody will be comfortable.
And before I get into my next question, just to touch on that a little bit more on the normalization of this. This is, again, in our opinion, it might be biased, but look around. This is what we're doing is really groundbreaking. It's very uncommon to possess those type of licenses all under the same roof, right, on the same property that we have. So if you think about it, getting in on the ground floor is always a great opportunity. That's what we're providing here, right? If you can go back in time and get in on the ground floor in the winery or brewery or distillery industry, right? We would probably all raise our hand and say, yes, I'm in. But what we're really trying to do is, again, normalize the use of cannabis because we think that everybody that enjoys it and is consuming today should have the same freedoms and flexibility that alcohol consumers have. And the alcohol market would be a fraction of it, what it is today, if in fact you had to consume it like cannabis, which means in the privacy of your home or otherwise, or secretively, like Joanne said.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this hospitality component a little bit more. What are we looking at? Are we talking about the design factors here? Are we talking about a kind of a fast food restaurant? Are we talking about an event space? What are we looking at? And I think we do have an image that we can
We
share with the
do.
crowd.
So
It shows our floor plan of the existing building and how it lays out.
yeah, and we were really lucky when we first got this property. There's an 11,000 square foot building that Edgar mentioned already on the property. It really, the footprint of it worked really, really well for what we were wanting to do. This is an overall rendering that shows from the bird's eye view, the inside of the cannery. So the entryway, which is up in the front, will be a plant store. So how this was set up, that will be our main entrance that people come in. That's where you get your ID checked. That's what you see in a lobby now at all the retails, dispensaries here now. To the left is our retail, to the right is our consumption lounge, straight back is the restaurant. And then of course you can see the back little private areas outside. Now for the entryway, which is our plant store, we found it interesting. We've been to a lot of different places and there's been some unique spots, and you all might know of at least one here and there, where you kind of either walk through the gift shop or walk through the record store or walk through the barber. There's a blind barber that's kind of popular. We loved that idea for our lobby because we did have to have an area in between each of our businesses so that they were separated. That's where the security will be. That's where we'll have some plants for sale and things like that. I do have a couple drawings a rendering of that. Khalil, if you want to bring that up.
Really quick. Okay, yep, let's jump into these. Go ahead.
Well, actually, this is the consumption lounge, but that's okay. We can move on to here. So the consumption lounge would be, so you'd walk through that plant store and you'd check in there, and then we would know what you wanted to do. If you're waiting for dinner, maybe you'd want to go into the consumption lounge. And that's where we've tried to make it very plush and comfortable, because I don't like the idea of just a box where you stand and smoke and there's an ashtray, right? We really want it to be, comfortable for everybody. A place where there's little nooks maybe that you can sit with your group. We even have one that you can close off with curtains, so that could be a private area if you want to have some sort of a meeting or something. We really tried to be mindful of the fact that, again, people socialize when they smoke cannabis. So you want that table there, you want the comfort of that. We will not have food in here. And the reason being that there's the mess from food and the mess from cannabis are two different messes. And if we want to keep this nice and clean and orderly, we wanted to be able to just strictly serve cannabis there. We will have some sodas. So you'll see a bar kind of there. You see that little corner of a bar. We will have some sodas and things like that. If somebody did want to add a tincture or to drink a THC beverage, they would have that opportunity to do that. So we'll have glass for this.
I do think we got another rendering we can pull up. Maybe it's the one of the restaurant to give everybody an idea of kind of this is.
Nope, go ahead. Yeah, that's the restaurant. So for the restaurant, we wanted to be surrounded by plant life, just like most of our property, because we do love plants. We wanted to make it also, again, very comfortable. We went and looked at tons of restaurants, tons of bars. There's a few that we modeled it off of, a few hotels that we went to that you take bits and pieces from. But overall, we just wanted to make it a very comfortable yet nice, location for we're calling it, kind of upscale American versus fine dining, because we're not going to have tablecloths on the tables, but we will have beautiful plants, beautiful flowers, and gorgeous seating.
Yeah. And that last rendering there.
Yeah, so this was what I talked about when I was mentioning the plant store. This is actually the entryway, so the lobby to our all three businesses. The retail is what you're looking at when you look straight ahead. So you'd like I say, check in there. That's where we check your ID. You can purchase plants on your way out. You could purchase, any t-shirts or any other ancillary products on the way out. We might have some candles and skincare and things like that. And then you can go on to the retail.
So Khalil, could you go back to the floor plan really quick? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about, so a couple of ideas here too, as well, is that the main dining room also has a private room that we can leave open and have entertainment in there. Or if somebody wants to rent that privately, they can then secure that, and then they can do combustible consumption in there if they so choose, because that would be then separated privately. But let's also talk about the outdoor space a little bit. What do we got going outside?
Yeah, so outside, we're gonna have a few different areas. So I wanted to bring the 4-acre property back to its original prairie state. I think it's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, just, once you bring it back to the prairie state, the birds come back, all the life, the sounds that we're used to hearing come back. So it would just make it a really nice setting. We're gonna do it as naturally as possible. There won't be a lot of cement or anything, but we will have paths cut out of the grass that will have little nook areas. We know we're gonna have a pool table, bocce ball, which my husband loves. We're gonna have, bocce courts. We'll have some activities out there, but we'll also have little areas that you can sit with your group. So that if you did want to rent a little private area, we can arrange that. Edgar mentioned that we do have that room in the restaurant. We've sort of designed it so that there's lots of opportunity to rent small spaces or reserve small spaces. There's a lack of that, like, group dining for like 20 to 30 people that we kind of wanted to cover. So we're really excited about the outside and what we're doing, because we are doing it as natural as possible with some beautiful plant life and a beautiful setting so that you can enjoy. Even in the far corner when we have our music venue, we want to make sure that the walk there is lovely. You just want everybody to really think that the property itself just warrants sitting outside and enjoying and talking and, doing some activities.
And to add a couple of other items here, we will have an outdoor kitchen that's adjacent to the indoor kitchen. The outdoor kitchen will service the outdoor customers, but with more of a kind of a limited menu. We can then host different type of events, things like pizza on the farm, or do roasted oysters, or it's Michigan, it's the Midwest. People like to be outdoors, so we're anticipating on having a lot of people outdoors during those warm months, and even in the winter months when you do Winterfest here. The city of Muskegon is again booming with different events that take place here. There's one seems like every single weekend throughout the entire year. So we're excited to kind of bring some of that to the market as well, and bring it not only to the local community, but bring it to people that are traveling through. We're right off of a main highway, off of Highway 31. We're only 3 hours from Chicago, only 3 hours from Detroit. We're only 30 to 40 minutes from Grand Rapids. So we anticipate seeing a lot of foot traffic coming this way, and us really being a destination spot. You can find a lot more of these renderings, which we're under construction, so the interior design work for the most part has been completed, but you can find a lot more of these renderings of these spaces on our website. That'll give you an idea of kind of what the layout and the decor will look like.
Yeah.
So
Now, we didn't see the retail. Khalil, if you have the retail real quick. Yeah, should be. There we are. So I think with the retail, right now it's sort of a model of get them in and get them out, with a lot of retail locations. I think we wanted it to be a little bit more like a boutique feel. We really wanted some little areas and nooks where people can kind of maybe get an education a little bit if they wanted to be private. And we do have a little seating area if you had some questions for some of our our bud tenders, as they're called. We like to call them smokeliers, but bud tenders. There is going to be some little nooks for them to go, answer some questions. But we really want to feature flower that we are really mindfully curating. There's some great flower out there, great products. We want to be able to just bring in the best and really pick and choose, not have it too overwhelming, not have things, hanging on the walls, but really just a really user-friendly area. The kiosk you'll see, you can place your order there, or read about any product you have questions about, or you can ask the smokeliers if you wish.
what if someone's in the restaurant and they don't want to get up to order a product?
Yes. Oh, good question, Edgar. Yeah. So we can deliver in Michigan. So obviously you could order from your table and we can walk it over and deliver it to your table. So if it was, if you decided to go online and look while you're sitting and having dinner and see what you want to bring home when you leave, we could drop it off to you, or you can stop in and grab it yourself on your way out.
All right, so I guess I'm gonna get a couple of questions here next, but I just get, Joanne hit on some interesting topics. One of them that really stuck out was that the typical retail experience today seems to be a 15 to 20-minute experience. Get in, get your product and leave. Our model is different in that we want you to stay on property, right? Because we have a lot of value-added reasons to stay on property, whether again, you're dining with us or you're there for the live entertainment or some other reason, right? Watching the big game. It's hard for me to say these things because I'm really from Chicago, but we know Detroit Lions are in a big game. Be at our location to experience that. So I'm open for my questions.
Well, I
Yes.
got one for you, Edgar. I know you touched on your past history in Wall Street a little bit, but I'd love for you to explain to us how in this dynamic and competitive industry, your experience in finance is helping to lead to the success of Fields.
Yeah, interesting. So give you a little bit more background. My background is in finance, primarily in the derivatives world, but I worked for a company that was involved in all of the markets. And there were individual business models or business groups within the company. And our CEO allowed each one of the head of those departments to run their department as if they were CEO and it was their business. So my background is in finance, which helps with the obvious things, managing CapExes and managing OpExes, and then looking for growth strategies, et cetera. But what I really, really shined with was that I took a business model that when I started at the company, it was just me, hired one employee, and within 4 or 5 years, up to 20 employees, and towards the end of that career, 40 employees in 6 different countries, managing thousands of different clients and multiple different business lines. And what my goal was to provide the infrastructure for the best to succeed. So I want to create an infrastructure for you, Corey, as our head of cultivation, to grow the best product, right? So that's what we deliver to the customers. For any one of our employees to shine, that is what my goal is. So my finance background will definitely come in handy, but I think where my real experience comes from is in working with clients based on what their needs are, but then also providing the infrastructure for our team to succeed and surrounding myself by the best team possible. So
Do you see any correlation between the commodities you used to work with and the future of cannabis?
Very interesting question. At the end of the day, it is a plant, right? And probably can be looked at as being a commodity. And I think the future of this industry is going to bring in a different aspect to it. Federal legalization, I think, is going to occur. When that occurs, we're going to have to see what that looks like. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of that occurring anytime too soon, just because of my history with legislation in the past. They tend to rush things through too quickly without putting any thought into it. But will this plant be looked at it like another commodity? I got mixed feelings about that. I think there will be some kind of look in the future towards that, probably ultimately having similar tools that companies that produce corn or soybeans or wheat might have for the cannabis space.
I have a question kind of, in the cannabis space. So now you've been in the cannabis space since like 2018. You've seen the evolution. Where do you see it going now? How has it changed from when it was first legal? Where's it going?
Well, we can do an entire webinar on that
Yeah.
alone. I think we're at it's no longer in its infancy stage, right? We've had legalization for well over a decade now, or at least about a decade now. And we've got, in some way, shape, or form, let's just call it 24 states that have adult use legalization. So there is a lot of data behind this industry that we will use moving forward to help us manage what we do within Fields. Going backwards, looking in the past, There was a lot of, it was interesting the way that this market came out. The green rush is what they called it. People came out and thought, we just need to grow or produce as much as possible. Whatever the max allows, let's do that, and let's even do more. Because they felt that that's what the consumer wants. We go legal, everybody's going to want it. I think what some of the companies failed to realize, though, was that people already had access to this great plant, right? It wasn't as if it wasn't available. It's like starting a business model today by saying, let's produce air, as if we don't already have air. So I think what they failed to see was our business model is to produce what the consumer wants, not to just produce as much as possible and hope that it sells. So I'm not saying that they did something wrong, but I don't think there was enough focus put into looking at, again, what the consumer wants, what the consumer deserves, what the consumer is used to already, especially in a market like Michigan, because the Caregiver Act here passed a long time ago, 2008, I believe, right? So we've really had a legal market here for a very, very long time. People are used to receiving this great plan. What does the future hold? Oh, sky's the limit. I think with a model like ours that is again normalizing this industry, what's next, right? Are there going to be, you can be able to go to a theater where you can smoke, or go to an amusement park, or go to a professional sporting event. I think that we're at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the possibilities here. And I do think that it's going to be driven by new reform. But again, I hope that they put thought into it and don't do it just to buy votes or otherwise. But I think there is definitely a massive amount of opportunity in this particular space. If the market today for the high THC product is a $30 billion market, what happens when, again, it's normalized, the use of it is normalized? Do we go to 100 billion? Yes, I think so. Do we go bigger? Yes, I do think so. And again, what are the possibilities out there? We're seeing, cannabis friendly hotels. We're seeing more events take place. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity out there. And I think that it should remain, though, as a sacred plant, because people should have access to it no matter what, right? What we're bringing to the table is not come to us because it's legal. It's come to us because we're a place that you want to be surrounded with like-minded people and consuming this plant and enjoying your evening like you would typically when you go out to a restaurant or a bar or out with your friends. But we love home growers, right? We love people that love this plant. We love learning from them and love the pioneers that got us here. So our hats get tipped to them. There's been a lot of legwork done for us to get to this particular space. But the future, in my opinion, again, speaking just from the industry and to the consumer, not necessarily the operators, has got a lot of room to grow. No pun intended. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree.
well, happy to now open this up. I'm sure we can just continue to chat about this, but we can certainly open it up to Q&A. We are in the process of a crowd fund along with a Reg D offering out there. So Khalil, I don't know if you're going to talk a little bit more about this, but we're kind of limited because this is open to the public of what we can say in terms of the investment terms. But we're happy to field any questions. And if we don't get to yours, please reach out and we'll provide some information on how we can carry on this conversation.
Yep, exactly. And just to kind of echo that, due to SEC guidelines, there are some topics we're not allowed to talk about on this webinar. So that's, regarding financials, any projections, any terms. If you want any of that information, you can check out the investment page. I will add that link here in the chat for everyone. So if everyone wants to just take a look at that, you can get all the information that you need there. We already do have some questions coming in. The first question I see here is, sorry I'm late. Any thoughts on incorporating a hotel into the mix at a later date?
Yeah, we're all shaking our head because we would love to. I mean, that was always kind of in the plans of trying to figure out how on this 4-acre property. We really don't have the space to do it. We may consider having some lodging on the property itself, but it would be more tiny home style or yurts type style. But again, I think as I just mentioned, right, the possibilities are limitless. You can one day hope to see a Fields hotel where inside of the lobby, your gift shop is your retail, right? When you come up to your room, instead of there being a chocolate on the pillow, there's a pre-roll. I think we'll keep our eyes open for that, and keep in mind that I'm saying this because I think you've already gotten the fact that we only plan on this being our flagship location, our first, right? Our goal ultimately is to build these in as many legal markets as possible. Once we start getting to that stage, we can then start looking at what else can we add to this, whether it be lodging or it be different type of entertainment, et cetera, right? We can try to incorporate it then.
And then question over here is, what is your target market, age, and socioeconomic?
Yeah, so when we talk about age, I was mentioning that both of, Corey and we were already in the hospitality industry when it came to cannabis. And that was my favorite part about it. It was 22-year-olds and their parents, 22 to 70-year-old people. We had an 81-year-old man at one of our events, who wasn't really a cannabis consumer, but just was interested to try something new, so it's interesting. So I target market as people who go out for entertainment, people who go out to restaurants, people who go to events. We want to do some special events, like a drag show or a burlesque show or a comedy show, people who enjoy just being out for entertainment. So, that's partially why we wanted to make sure that we had the liquor license along with the cannabis licenses, because there could be groups of friends that are of all ages and all demographics, but they just are out for the entertainment.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like we're trying to boil the ocean here, but the reality is that it's anyone that's over the age of 21.
Right.
And it is so wonderful to see, even today when we're out and we're talking about the business. You'd be surprised at who says, wow, can't wait for you to open. So we'll probably see the younger generation probably being the majority of our visitors and the more frequent visitors. But we're really open to anyone because again, it's normalizing the use.
And then it's here. Surrounding the property site, can you provide insights on the neighborhood, including population demographics, that can help us understand if locals will be able to support Fields via frequent foot traffic?
Sure, absolutely. When we got started in this, one of the first things we did was what we call an impact report to kind of see if it can be supported by not only the current population of Muskegon County, but then go out into a 10, 25, 50, then much higher radius. And if you just went to a 50-mile radius, you're looking at a population of about 1.6 million. Within Muskegon County itself, I think the population right now is around 80,000, call it. And we are surrounded by a very dense populated area. There is 600 plus resident apartment building complex next to us. There's housing all around us. We're very close to other tourist attractions like a golf course, downtown. But then the city of Muskegon, which I keep talking highly about because they offer so much, brings in somewhere around 1.3 million tourists to the city every single year. In events like Bike Time and the Surf Fest, Burning Foot, man, the Beer Fest. There's so many out there. So they attract somewhere around 1.3 million people. I anticipate that growing. And I see the population growing as well with all the new housing development that's taking place. And that 1.3 million tourists that come into Muskegon alone, somewhere according to the city of Muskegon, generates somewhere around 313 million in tourist spending. So because again, it's the Midwest, it's Michigan, you've got seasons here. We probably do the most business during the warmer months, but people come up for Winterfest. Muskegon just hosted their very first ball drop in downtown Muskegon. Yeah. Well attended. We've seen events that bring in tens of thousands of people We've got a minor league hockey team here. So I think the locals, and not to mention, I think Corey might have touched on this, but Muskegon's also has been one of the highest recipients of tax dollars generated by the state of Michigan from cannabis sales, because it just seems that when you turn 21 in Muskegon, it's your God-given right to start consuming, and a lot of people do.
This was a great question, and I'd like to elaborate a little more. I know in my experience, most operators are limited on their real estate options. And that wasn't the case for us. We didn't look for someplace that was available. We looked for a location that was ideal for the business model we wanted to pull off. We then asked for ad hoc zoning. We were granted that. So our property is outside of the traditional cannabis district. Edgar mentioned apartment complex being adjacent to our property. That apartment complex alone houses 672 different units. The block that we're on has multiple apartment complexes, as well as the college, the local county offices, the golf course. We can be seen from the main highway
Yeah, we're
31.
right off the highway.
We're in an ideal location for what we're looking to do.
Yeah, so when we did, again, the research, we found that this is a business model that, of course, will be welcomed, but also supported.
And
Question.
it's kind of a follow-up around just Michigan as a whole. What is the overall position of the state of Michigan regarding cannabis? What hurdles are left?
Well, I guess that depends on, what lens you're looking through, right? As an operator, it's a uncapped market, which means that licenses, if the municipality is opted in and the municipality hasn't capped licenses, you can receive a license here in the state of Michigan. So like any emerging market, everybody came out for the gold rush. We'll call this the green rush. And some will say that the market is saturated, the market's very competitive. However, if you're looking through the lens of the consumer, we broke 3 billion last year, right? I mean, the people here love to consume. They love the products. They love the variety of products that they can receive. They love the freedom of the products they can receive. And then we're surrounded by states that just aren't legal yet or are just coming on board. Indiana, Ohio. It's a short travel from Illinois, so you get a lot of people from Illinois that come up and want to try to save money. I think the Michigan market still has massive amount of upside potential. And also the fact that they are so forward thinking. First of all, it was passed by the people. It was a people initiative vote, and it was passed by the people, so the people got what they wanted. But the market itself still has mass amount of room to grow, and the state loves what cannabis brings to the table in terms of tax dollars and improvement to communities, parks, schools, roadways, etc. They really, really do enjoy what the cannabis community has brought to Michigan. I think, which is one of the big reasons why we were able to even get our liquor license.
And will there be a time limit for consumption?
We're still playing around with rules like that. The great part about what we're offering, because people have asked the question before, is that, well, what are you going to do about overconsumption and how are you going to manage that? Things like that. And I think that's probably where this question is leading towards. What's happening today, as Joanne mentioned earlier, is you're either consuming first, then going to the bar or the restaurant. Or you're stepping outside to smoke, then you're coming back inside. You go out to your car, you go out to the walkway. We're going to know what people have purchased. We're not going to know what they brought in secretively. You're not going through a scan. We're not patting you down. But for the most part, we're going to know that you ordered, X amount of cannabis products, X amount of drinks, right? This is what you consume. And then we're going to have staff on board that is trained to recognize overconsumption. So we should be ahead of the game there from a point of view of looking at it of how can you control it? Well, it's happening today. We got better control because we're going to know again what people have purchased and ordered and hopefully even consumed. So we haven't determined yet whether or not we're going to have a time limit on there. Most hospitality companies tend to have that. we don't have a massive space. We can fit somewhere around 200 plus people indoors and close to that outdoors as well. So I'm sure we'll see some turnover in the seating. But we want to again normalize the use of this. So we don't want people coming in and celebrating their birthday party, and then we run up to them and say, "Hey, your time's up. You got to go."
Yeah, but I think because we're setting a precedent, we do want to make sure that we do it really, really well. So we do want to keep everybody safe. Edgar mentioned that we'll have trained people, that would just, I mean, I worked in a steak place. I never saw the Heimlich maneuver given so much as I did at a steak place. We had people that knew how to give the Heimlich maneuver at our steak place. It's sort of precautions you take. I'm sure we're going to learn as we go along the way, but we do want to, keep our guests safe. And certainly part of that is knowing what they're consuming. They don't have to go out to the car to do it. They don't have to go in the truck. We will be serving that to them. We'll be, keeping track of kind of what people are consuming in the sense that you do in a bar. If you have to cut somebody off at a bar, you just do it, right? We'll be, training our employees to recognize when that's time and when it maybe is just, they need to just sit and drink water a little bit.
So I do see a number of questions coming in, so maybe we go through these a little faster.
Yeah, I'm just going through because there are some questions that we've already answered.
Pick the good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no bad question.
Are you already working with local farmers, wineries, hotels, and event wedding planning? Fields would be a great partner for these.
Yeah, that's always been in our business model or in our thoughts was, so our idea behind a menu is to be a elevated American menu that rotates with the seasons. We plan on bringing some farm to table ourselves, but we want to wholeheartedly work with local brewers, wineries, farmers for produce, protein, etc., and bring something very, again, maybe it's American style, but eclectic. So yeah, we're thrilled to be working with the farmers here in Michigan.
Yeah, and then when you talk about like the wedding planners and the hotels and stuff, definitely, we would love to utilize hotel shuttles, have them bring their guests out. Also, when it comes to events, I don't know if as events, I don't know if I want to plan a wedding, but I would love an event planner that wants to come and have their, bring their people to us to have the wedding on our premises. So as a location for events, all kinds, yeah, we'll be available for that.
And just this holiday season, we got a number of requests of asking if we were open yet because they were looking for a place. I'm sure cannabis operators were looking for a place that they can bring their entire team, all their employees to, where they can also consume.
Next year, we'll be open for Christmas events.
I know you said there would be retail products that are infused. What about your menu? Will there be infused options?
No, no. It's a short answer is no, based on safety concerns, food safety concerns. You don't want to we can't run the risk of cross-contamination. However, what is doable is that, again, having our own production facility is we can make, as Corey mentioned earlier, infused honey, infused sriracha, infused something. And if that's packaged, people can order packaged goods to their table, open it and put it on their food. We're not allowed to prep and infuse the food in the kitchen.
And then what will the capacity limits be of the dining area consumption areas, as well as the total event space / outdoor areas?
Yeah, I'll start with, I'll go backwards here. If somebody did a tire buyout and wanted to rent the entire space for a large wedding, it should be, we haven't finalized all of our seating just yet, but it should be somewhere around 300, a little north of that, maybe 325. In just your typical seating and dining experience. The restaurant with the private dining room will host roughly around 150. The indoor lounge will host roughly around 100 people. And then you're almost at that same capacity at the outdoor space. Again, depending on what people are doing. Are they by the pool tables, by the bocce courts? Are they, they doing something near the dining area, etc.? So that's again, rough numbers because we haven't finalized all the seating, but it's a fairly large space.
And if someone wanted to have a deeper conversation about making a big investment and joining the owners club to be part of the industry first, what is the best way to connect?
Well, you can certainly send an email to either info@fieldscannabis.com. Our personal emails are our first name. Mine's Edgar@fieldscannabis.com. That's probably the easiest way. So yeah, I would suggest that. We have a contact form at our website, which is fieldscannery.com. But email, I think, is always the best way.
And then can you please share your experience with the local approval process, such as challenges and what you did to address these issues, or when did you begin the process and building relationships with local officials? Thanks.
Well, Corey's from the area. So Corey's born and raised in the area, and although he's got experience living in many other states, he knows the community here quite well. Unfortunately, too, he was impacted by the failed war on drugs, which is why we are a social equity recipient, which I don't think was helpful definitely in us getting the ad hoc rezoning that he mentioned on our property. We took a bit of a gamble. We bought our property, which we still today own outright, before we even had it licensed or zoned for licensing. We went through that process, which each one of these processes in itself is a bit cringing. You hold on and hope for the best. But again, I think based on what Corey experienced and what Corey brings to the table and what we're doing within this community and within Muskegon and what Muskegon is doing, we actually got unanimous approval on the ad hoc rezoning.
Yeah.
We went through the then state licensing as well as the municipality licensing. We heard rumors that there probably won't be another entity like ourselves within the Muskegon city limits that controls this many licenses because there really isn't space for it. However, the one that was probably the most challenging was the liquor license. And it was really the application process leading up to the approval process that was very tedious. They want to know a lot of background information. They want to know a lot of financial information. They wanted to make sure that we weren't too close to a school or church or something else. Requested a couple of small changes within our architectural design. However, again, when we went to the approval process, we got unanimous approval, which is again showing that the state of Michigan is extremely forward-thinking. The city of Muskegon is extremely forward-thinking. One of the higher officials within Muskegon said, I can't wait to have a beer and a joint with you guys. So I wish that there was a secret sauce or a standard document that I can provide somebody to say, here's what you need to do what we did. But in reality, there was a lot of components that helped make that happen.
There was.
Yeah, I think one of the most critical applications that we put in, or at least strenuous applications that we put in, was for the property tax abatement. We were granted a unanimous approval of that as well. We received an 8-year property tax abatement pre-construction.
Yeah.
And we are coming down here to the hour. I wanted to, give you a chance for any final thoughts and anything to leave the audience with today.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. You can definitely reach us at those email addresses that I mentioned. The best one is info@fieldscannabis.com. Happy to carry on this conversation. Happy to provide anybody else with any additional information. Our website is loaded with that information, but we're always happy to speak with anyone directly. We're again extremely excited about bringing this revolutionary concept to market. It is in my opinion, even though disruptive might be a negative word, it's a disruption to what the current hospitality space is. And it's really even a disruptor into what the cannabis industry is today. So we're innovators, I'd like to say, better than disruptors. But our goal, though, is to, again, create something that the consumer not only wants, but deserves. And part of the reason for us launching this crowdfund was that we wanted the consumer to own a piece of this revolutionary, groundbreaking concept in this emerging market in the cannabis industry. And the reality is, a lot of times it takes a lot of funds to do that. we're giving anyone the opportunity to get involved at the ground floor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. And if at any moment anyone in the audience had to hop off and come back in, don't worry, this whole webinar has been recorded. So we're going to be posting a recap of the webinar. And yeah, be on the lookout for that email. Thank you, team. Thank you everyone who attended, and hope everyone has a good rest of their day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Khalil. Bye-bye.